All right, all right. Welcome back to the Green Logbook. Just messing around with my sounds real quick, my sound settings, making sure everything's up to speed here. Output, okay, input, got it. Bluetooth, got it. Yeah, I probably should have done this before, but it happens. Yeah, so welcome back, everybody, to Green Logbook. Good to have you all. Uh, I was on live stream. Cancel this here. I was on the live stream on Wednesday and talking a little bit about veteran updates. And I actually got a few questions about the whole military to civilian retirement thing and how exactly it works and what to look out for and things like that. Um, I got a few questions about this actually, and including in the military retirement group on Facebook, one of the groups that I run online. And here, I'll read this out to you here. It's a pretty good one. Um, Somebody had a young Air Force active duty airman reached out to me and he asked a question about it. Here, I just responded to him and I thought I'd bring this up. It's a pretty damn good question. And I didn't see it until now. So if you're watching this, man, my bad. I see these things and they go in a different box on Facebook. I don't have Facebook on my phone, so I can't really check it on the spot. So his question was, "Hey, brother, question. I know I really should be the one to answer. I guess I need a little motivation or guidance. Watch your videos on retirement and if it's worth it. Wondering if it's worth it to do 20. I'm 5 years in so far and making a decision to either re-up or get out. He's got kids and a wife. He's going back and forth between getting out or staying in. Air Force. He's trying to commission in the Air Force soon. If he gets that, it will help him make that decision." And again, I'm just reading off of this message I got on Facebook. This was on Wednesday, and I just saw it right before I got on here because I don't check my Facebook messages. I don't have it on my phone. I can only access it from the site. So this guy, young Air Force veteran or Air Force airman, active duty, and he's wondering whether or not it's a good idea to stay till his 20 year mark. He's been in for 5 years. I don't know what the MOS is. I assume 5 years. If it's anything like the Marine Corps, 5 years is probably going to be like some kind of air wing, highly technical MOS where they require you to do like 5 years. Other than that, it's usually like 4 years and then a re-enlistment, right? So his question is, should I stay in? Should I get out? He says, sorry for the drawn out message. No, it's okay, man. If you're watching, man, I hope that you are. If not, and we can revisit this. I already messaged you on Facebook. Uh, Told you that it is a tough decision. And I was in these exact shoes when I was during my first enlistment. 4 years in, I was trying to figure out whether or not I was going to stay in the Marine Corps for the long haul or get out and explore something else. And that was the mindset all along when I first joined was do the 4 years and then move back to Florida and go to school, get a job. And mind you, I didn't come from, a lot of money. I didn't know what I was actually going to do. I didn't have an actual plan when I got back to Florida. Before I left, I was working at a telemarketing office, and I think I was at a car wash, something like that. And I was probably 19 years old, and I was going to school at that point as well. And I thought maybe there's got to be something better to life than this crap. So that's why I joined the Marine Corps. And I really didn't want to go back to that life after I left. So I had a lot of thinking to do, and I didn't have a plan. So that kind of prompted me to do another enlistment in the Marine Corps. And another enlistment comes with a PCS move. And at that point, I got really good in with my new Marines, and I had really good leadership there too. So that kind of prompted me to kind of keep going, right? A lot of it is regarding leadership. If you have good leadership, you're going to want to keep on. And I've read horror stories online where people have tough, like nasty leadership, man, like toxic leadership, if you want to call it that. And that prompts folks to want to leave the service because they just don't want to deal with that. I would say that if you're dealing with something like that, um, that it's not forever, right? It's not at some point in time, either they're going to PCS or you're going to PCS, et cetera. So it's not forever. I hate to use a term, you got to push through it, but essentially that's what it is. You shouldn't have to deal with, harassment or assaults or anything like that. Of course not. There's outlets for that, right? You shouldn't have to deal with that. But there's different ways of getting around that. Potentially, if there's a lot of issues, you can be sent somewhere else, PCS somewhere else if there are other issues. So it's just honest conversations you need to have with your leadership. But thankfully, I didn't have uh, any real big issues. I mean, there's some rocky leadership out there that I've had, and you kind of have to pick and choose and stuff, like not pick and choose like what you're going to follow, but the type of leadership that you're going to turn into your own type of leadership, right? So as you're a young Marine, as I was a Marine, I was kind of exposed to all this different stuff. So it was tough, but yeah, one enlistment turned into two enlistments. That turned into a package that I submitted for warrant officer, turned into a potential recruiting job. Then I had to make a decision: do I want to go recruiting, or do I want to go after I was selected the warrant officer route? Of course, I chose the warrant officer route. So, and that after that point, you get over a different hump, and you're at your 10-year mark, and you have to figure out, like, am I going to go for the long haul or not? So that's kind of like the deciding factor. Am I going to go for the full 20? And I will be honest, doing the full 20 years in a month in the Marine Corps was probably the best decision I have ever had done in my life. Aside from, marrying my wife, of course, and having my kids, probably the best decision. It has offered me time. It has offered me freedom in terms of time, in terms of doing what I want to do, when I want to do it, exploring new avenues, going to school. I didn't have to jump right into a new career. A lot of people do. And I did the same thing at first, but then I really figured, I could take a break from this, as long as you do the right steps, get out of debt, stash a little bit of money away or a lot of money away, depending on how long you want to be out of work. And then, damn, you can do whatever the heck you want afterwards, right? The sky's the limit. As if you can dream it, you can do it. All those, motivational things that they put out there. So yeah. So let's see what we got here. Navy Cop, what's going on, man? Good to have you, buddy. Zero long-term plan going into the Navy 20 years later, thinking to myself, well, what happened? Yeah, man. It's I have that same thought sometimes. What happened? Let me see here. What is going on with these? Some of these comments are a little crazy here. Let me get this guy out of here. All right, good. Ronan Bruv, what's going on, man? I think after this, I'm going to be doing another little installment on the other channel about sponsorships, talking about how I locked on sponsorships and all that good stuff. So look out for that one. If you want to jump on, please feel free. We'll talk a little bit about it, have some discussions on this, but it can definitely be a good, a lucrative route, if you will. It definitely provides that freedom as well, right? So another comment that I received on that military retirement group, this other gentleman here, and I won't share the names, but this other gentleman mentioned, hey, I'm nearing the 2-year mark from being retirement eligible. Okay, retirement eligible. So I think you're retirement eligible at like 18 years or 19, something like that. That's when you can start putting in your paperwork and all that. I'm looking to connect with someone or gather resources to assist with the transition. Any assistance is appreciated. So first off, of course, I had to let them know about the green logbook. Like, hey, I got all this stuff on the green logbook. Feel free to check it out. The Military Retirement Podcast. We do the live stream on Sunday mornings. But the concern he has are specific, right? A few specific things, concerns of where to live, the wife's, job, retirement pension, or how the wife's VA factors into my retirement pension. Got it. He has questions about TSP, about employment opportunities, uh, for both. All right. So basically everything. And these are all the things that I thought about when I was retiring from the Marine Corps as well. Like the amount of stress that I put myself under when I was thinking about where the hell are we going to live? What are we going to do? Um, and then trying to work with the constraints of course, I'm married, trying to work with it within constraints of, I won't say constraints. That's a bad, not the word I'm looking for. Um, Communicating with my wife, and asking her, what do you want to do now? Because the whole plan was leave the military, retire. And since she's been following me around my whole career, now it's time for me to follow her around for her career, because she had a really good career here where we are right now. And that was the deciding factor. She got a really good job here. We stayed here. I entered another good job here, and we just remained here. We started planting roots in the community, with the neighbors. It was a good spot for us to be in here. So I figured, why change this? And I know that not a lot of people are in that same position, so it's a little tough. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into where to live. A lot of folks want to move back to where their family is or where they moved from, and that's totally fine. But you also have to think to yourself, why did you leave that place in the first place, right? I left Florida because I felt like it was a black hole, like I was going nowhere. Now, mind you, I was young, so I didn't realize it then. I was in like these little crap jobs, and I had to move on from there. But I knew that maybe I didn't want to be back in that position. So that helped me make that decision. Maybe I won't move back to Florida, not just yet. As far as TSP, let me see here. Uh, TSP is a tough one because you can only contribute, as far as right now, until they actually pass that Forward Act. You can only contribute it to it while you're active duty or while you were a federal civilian employee. You can't contribute to that stuff after you leave the service completely. Uh, for instance, I was a federal employee. I have a different civilian TSP account. I have my TSP account from when I was active duty, and I can't contribute to them anymore because I'm not a federal employee anymore. I'm not active duty, obviously, anymore. They're just kind of sitting there. They still go up and down with the market depending on how I play it, right? Depending on where I put the money and how I allocate it. Um, but it's fun to watch. It's fun to see it go up when it does go up, and you can always roll that over into something else, like one of these Vanguard things. Now, I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I'm not a financial guru or anything like that, or I don't pretend to be. That's what Josh is for Movement Financial. He's that financial strategist that we turn to. I have him on the show every so often. As far as employment opportunities, man, to answer this guy's question here, that's a little tough because it all depends on what you're good at and what you like to do. Um, a lot of folks that I've encountered don't want to do what they were doing in the military. I did a lot of military law when I was in, and did I want to do that when I got out? Not necessarily. It was, did I want to do military justice? It wasn't top of my list. I know about it, and now I'm kind of exploring that a little bit more since I know about these things. But it all depends on what you want to do. For 2 months after I got out, I sat at the park for a little bit just to kind of decompress because I did do a lot of stuff, and it was stressful, the military to civilian transition. I sat at the park and drew portraits of people for like a month and a half. It was a de-stressor for me. I like doing it anyway, so I figured why not just do that. And during that time, I was able to lock on a position with Surface and Mind Warfighting Development Center as a training and operations advisor, which was fun, kind of out of my wheelhouse, but that's what the networks are for. So there's chances for employment as long as your networks are strong and you're continuing to work on those networks. You can find something. You can shift into something that you don't really have experience in, but if you are willing to learn, they're willing to teach. I found. So here, let me do this here. The hell are these comments? Oh, okay, yeah, Derek. Hey, man, good having you here, man. Yeah, I just read your message on the group, and I thought, you know what, let me bring this up anyway, since I was going to do a live stream about military civilian process and what it's like anyway. Um, and then ultimately what life is like after military retirement, right? A lot of folks are don't go all the way to 20 years. And I had many people who showed up to my retirement ceremony, several friends who are like, man, I'm kicking myself in the ass because I could be in the same position you are right now, retiring, you get a pension for life, potentially, if you rate VA disability, you get that as well. And you can choose what you want to do, where you want to live. And it's it's not a bad life, man, to be honest. It's not. It's like I mentioned in the comments, it's probably one of the best decisions I've made outside of meeting my wife and having my kids, because it does afford the opportunity to do all these great things, what you want to do, explore, entrepreneurship and things like that. So it's pretty damn great. So what does life look like after it? Well, uh, you still get up, and if you want to live as long as possible, right, for to not only for your family, but to benefit from your pension, to benefit from your VA disability stuff that you receive. Give me a second here. Yeah, so you want to live as long as possible, right? So that means that you still need to take care of yourself. You still need to work out, or I would suggest that folks work out after military retirement, because you're still young enough, right? I retired and I was 41, just turned 41 when I retired, and still young enough to do. My brain still worked, my arms still work, legs still work. So I figured, I still can go to the gym. I still can do things, right? I can still go outside for a walk if I wanted to, the occasional run if I needed to. So stay in shape so that way you can benefit from all those things that you're receiving from your time in the military. Um, the worst thing is just letting yourself go, and then you encounter like health issues, and then start withering away um, soon thereafter. I would not recommend that, obviously, but you have a lot of free time. I've explored like space age travel. I've explored travel in general. Sometimes the kids are. When I had a job, it would be tough for me to get off of work sometimes if I didn't put uh, the time off ahead of time. If I wanted to take off for spring break, I don't have to worry about that right now because I do the work at home. I'm my own boss for the time being, right? We'll see how this all goes, this entrepreneur thing. But I'm my own boss, and life is pretty good right now. I can call the shots. So real quick, going to the comics, Derek, you're absolutely welcome for this, man. I'm IT and my wife is logistics. Both of you are active duty, I assume. Your wife being logistics. Both of you are retiring at the same time. Here, I'll add this to the comments on here. If anybody wants to jump on and talk about their retirement journey or life after the military retirement, feel free to jump on. Even if somebody has questions about it, you don't have to have your camera on. I mean, you can do audio only if you want. Uh, I would just ask that we keep it to the topic here. I understand there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the world right now with veterans and all that, and I'll cover that on another show. But today it's about military to civilian transition, what life is like after military retirement. So, um, yeah, we'll keep it at that. Jump on the live stream. She's already out. Derek says, uh, she retired. Did she get out after a few enlistments, or what's the status? Because it really makes a difference, like retired pension versus non. Man, all right. Yeah. So yeah, it does make a difference. Like if I know several folks who are dual retired, and just a few contracts. She's 90%. Okay, so yeah, I know several folks are dual retired. Life is good for them. I know a couple who bought a boat, sailed across the Pacific, did their thing out there. Um, and came home afterwards. They were renting their house out, came home afterwards, and went to live their happy life. It's life is good for dual retirement. If you're not, life's still potentially good. Depending on how you work it. My suggestion would be to get out of debt completely before you leave the service. That's what I did. I got out of all debt except for the houses, um, probably 5 years before I got out. That is like one of the top things that I was concentrated on through money, as much money as I could to get out of debt, paid everything else off, owed nobody money. And it is so refreshing to start a second chapter when you have zero debt. It really is. It's like you can start clean. So that would be the biggest thing that I would suggest. Let me see here. What other questions did you have? There's a lot of good comments on that group post that you put up there. Um, Financial planners, there's some financial planners getting a hold of you. Uh, I would say that I would sign up for the BDD claim if you mentioned that you're 2 years 2 year mark from being retirement eligible. Does that mean that you're at your 18-year mark or your 16-year mark? Because I think you're eligible to drop your papers at 18 years, I believe, 2 years out. Um, so depending on that, yeah, 18-year mark. Okay, gotcha. So put it on your calendar on 180 days before your end of active service. Put that on your calendar to go submit your BDD claim, your benefits delivery at discharge claim. Okay, this is huge because this will be the determining factor whether or not your claim takes a month or two or your claim takes a year, right? So if you do your BDD claim, you're going to have to do all the CMP exams. You're going to have to do your DBQs. You're going to do all that stuff within a certain time frame, and then potentially, and I'll give you my timeline. I don't know anybody else's timeline, but mine. I received my VA percentage, my VA claim percentage, 11 days after my end of active service. So I got a call. I did it through the DAV, and I would suggest that you go through a reputable VSO, Veteran Services Officer. Like the DAV, I went through that one. I had a great experience with them. They really took care of me. We're in constant contact. So um, can't say enough good things about the DAV. But the VFW has it. American Legion has it. I mean, there's a ton of other places. USO has this stuff, and I would steer away personally. I mean, I maybe some people have good experiences with this stuff, but I personally would steer away from those pay for play type of places, as they call them, loan shark, or not loan sharks, VA claim sharks, where they charge you to do your VA claim. And there's this big thing going on right now with like the VA using AI to determine where the fraud is, and they're really looking at a lot of these VA claims mills. So I won't name any names, but a lot of these places where you pay and they use canned responses, essentially the same thing for everyone in order to gain that 100% disability rating. So they're using AI to figure out who submitted those things, and I would steer clear from that. To be honest, I mean, it's all, you can go on va.gov and read about it. I mean, they're looking at it pretty close now. They're potentially going to have to be sending some veterans to go redo their DBQs, and some veterans may lose out on their stuff. I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I don't know how they're training that AI. I simply don't know. I've gotten questions about it. If I gave you an answer right now, it'd just be speculation because I don't have a solid answer. I don't know exactly how they're going to train their stuff. There was word about it that they anticipate there being some folks who get kind of caught in the middle, some folks who legitimately put in good claims who get caught in the middle, but they're going to try to alleviate that in some way. So as long as you did it on the up and up, and as long as you potentially didn't use one of these VA claim sharks, then you should be good to go. So just understand that. You can use them if you want. I'm not telling you not to. Me personally, no go. So 660 Love, what's going on with you? Good day. I like that TGLB family, the Green Logbook family. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so today I started getting some questions online on Facebook specifically about the military to civilian transition and what life is like after military retirement. I got a question from a young airman on Facebook. I didn't see it until like today, this morning. I don't have Facebook on my phone. I don't have social media on my phone. I have to log into the computer here, and I usually don't log into Facebook too often. But saw his question, young airman, 5 years in, trying to decide if he should stay in for 20 years or not. What's best for him and his family, and that's a tough call. I mean, he does have a wife and young kids, 2 young kids, and essentially, I told him, hey, like personally, it was one of the best decisions I ever made, to be honest. Doing 20 years plus in the military and then getting out, because now I can really focus on what I want to focus on. And that's anything that I want to do, really. So good stuff. Let me see here. But yeah, I would link up, man, with a financial planner or a financial strategist to see what your options are, right? You can roll over your TSP into like another kind of financial institution if you wanted to, or just let it ride in there and play around with that. So you can do that. But my suggestion is to talk to somebody in the finance industry and interview these people, right? You don't have to stick with one person. Like when I was getting out, I got just bombarded with people on LinkedIn and some folks on Facebook too. Like when I put on there, hey, looking to do my retirement journey, I had the same questions as you, as Derek. What do I do after? What are best practices? What should I stay away from, et cetera? And it just bombarded with financial folks like, hey, let's set up a time to talk. Let's talk. Well, it seemed kind of sketchy to me. Right? Oh my God, I like to reach out to folks. So be cognizant of that. We work with here at the Green Law Group, we work with Josh. He's retired Army out of MVMT Financial. That's Movement Financial. So it's mvmtfinancial.com, and he's really good. He comes on the live stream every so often, and we talk a lot about financial stuff. I always have questions anyway, so might as well ask somebody who knows about it. I know how to do my finances. I can't tell you how to do your finances, so I try to stay away from that. Let me see what else here. Somebody had mentioned the USO app, or go to the USO website, connect with the transition specialist. And there's a lot of transition specialists out there. Like I went through, is it Hire Heroes USA? And they did my resume. But realistically, you can do your own resume on like ChatGPT. You can upload your fitness reports or whatever you've got and transform that into bullet points for your resume. And it doesn't take too much to do it. You may want to have somebody look over it a little bit, but it doesn't take too much to do that. And man, what I would do, man, Derek, if you're still listening, what I would do is network like it's going out of style, man. Go out there and press the flesh every single day, man. And that means shake the hands, right? Shake the hands every single day. And I'm proof of that, man. I did military justice for 20 years. And then I moved over to a surface in mine warfighting development center job. Didn't know anything about this. I'm not a SWO, or I was never in the Navy. And simply because I was willing to learn, and because of my job experience, I suppose, and because I knew somebody who vouched for me to the hiring manager. They're like, yeah, we want him on our team. And, it was great. It was a big learning curve, 3 months to learn the basic levels of what a surface warfare officer does. But I was happy to be in there. It was a good team. And, I lasted about a year there, and then I moved over to another position. So You can go into work right after if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it. Take some time to decompress, provided that your financial situation allows. Take some time to decompress, and I think you'll be all right, man. So, what is life like after military retirement? Well, that's very subjective. I can tell you what my life is like after military retirement. Um, Wake up in the morning, make some coffee, do a little workout in the morning, jump on here. Now it's school, right? Because I'm using VRNE to go to school for a master's degree. So check on the school stuff. It's an accelerated course, so I got to be on my game on there and take my kids to school. It's a big reason why I want to work from home now is take my kids to school and pick them up from school. So that is huge for me. So if you have a family, that might be huge for you too. What questions we got about military retirement? Put it in the comments. Put it in the chat below. But yeah, it looks different for everybody, depending on where you live, depending on where you move to, depending on your financial situation. It looks different for everyone. If you live in a high cost area, you may have to continue working if you didn't stash money away while you're in. If you live in a low cost area, you can do essentially whatever you want. But you also, if you have kids, you have to look at school situations as well. And if you happen to get your 100% VA disability after the fact, that's also great because your kids can potentially go to state schools for free, depending on the state that you live in. So there's a lot to look at there. Derek, what's going on? One last question. What you got, man? You can ask me 10 questions if you want. I have fun with this topic here because I talk about it all the time. And I try to get my foot in the door with the TAPS folks on several bases, and a lot of them, unless I'm working with the contractor, I cannot get in with them. And I'm not going to go work for this contractor, so I figured just share it here on the channel. Yeah, but what you got, man? Derek Daffin, one last question regarding military retirement, I assume. Post away. One last concern. I have a deployment coming up. Should I drop my retirement before leaving? When I get back, I will be past 19 years. So you got to kind of time it just right. What I would do, if it doesn't bleed into your BDD claim time frame, I would just go on the deployment. I mean, I assume the deployment might be a little bit more money for you as well. So you might want to stash away some cash. It's a time game now. I mean, are you looking at just doing your 20 and getting out? Are you okay with doing a little bit over 20? Because you can drop your papers and then retire 2 years later, or whatever the case may be. It doesn't have to be right at 20 years. So that's completely up to you. Me personally, I mean, if the deployment's not going to hinder any or cause any issues with you and your family and your BDD claim submission or anything like that, go ahead, put it in there. But understand that you'll be past 19 years, and if the time frame is, if your goal is to do it at 20 and out, that is an accelerated time frame, man, and you're going to be running all over the place. It's going to get a little stressful because you're going to have a ton of medical appointments that you should be taking care of. You're going to have a ton of paperwork. You're going to have to do turnover with whoever's taking over for you. Honestly, what I would do is, if I'm going to be past my 19-year mark, when I get back from deployment, I'd probably prolong my retirement a little bit past that, so I have a solid year and a half, no less than a year and a half, to concentrate on the retirement stuff. Because just basing it off your question, you're still trying to figure out where you're going to move, what employment's going to look like. A lot needs to happen in a year and a half, and as you know, the government doesn't work as quick as we wanted to ever, especially in the military. People sit on stuff, so you want to have that time. So yeah, tough call, man. Tough call, but you may have to extend a little bit past your 20 if you want to do that. To passing VA education benefits. Yeah, at 21. Okay, so you'll have some time. You'll be at 21 years, so you'll have some time, I think. Yeah, yeah, I think Mr. Envoy has it right. Maybe worth reaching out to your monitor to at least let them know your plans, intentions to help mitigate unwanted orders. Yes, I agree. And when you do go and start doing the retirement process, sit down and have an honest conversation with whoever your boss is, your OIC, or whoever it is, to let them know, hey, look, I am about to retire. I need to hand this over to whoever it is, and I need to be concentrated on me right now. Not to say that you're not that you're going to go malinger or whatever, or not focus on the mission. Look at it from the top, but you need to focus on your military to civilian transition right now because it's a lot to juggle. And I had that honest conversation with my boss when I was leaving. I was the uh, my boss was first located where I was, and then detached somewhere like on another base. So after the fact, um, when I took over my unit, so I had to really hand over a lot of stuff to several staff NCOs. I was the chief warrant officer three, and I'm like, look, I, I couldn't hand it over to one of the lieutenants or the captains. They were different shops, so I handed it over to a few gunnies and a staff sergeant, and I'm like, look, each one of you take a piece of this. I will be back after I do my medical stuff at the end of the day to check on this. I had a government cell phone, so I was like, I'll answer questions. If I need to take my laptop with me and answer some questions on the back end, that's fine. But I let it be known that I need to concentrate on my stuff when I was doing my military civilian transition, because you're going to be wearing a lot of hats, man, and you're going to be stressed out. That's just what it is. Just answer a text here. So yeah, good insight from Mr. Envoy. To be honest, good insight. Reach out to your monitor, let him know. And I assume, Derek, are you Marine Corps or what service? Army. Okay, Army. Yeah, I don't. I assume you guys have monitors, right? Tell people that tell you where to go and all that. So yeah, reach out to them, let them know, give them a heads up. I just had a question from an active duty first sergeant on that almost the same thing. Like, what do I do? I'm about to retire, and it was a question of the repercussions that he would potentially face because he had promised his monitor that he would not retire at this duty station that he just got orders to. I guess they made some kind of a deal or whatever, and then sure enough, this guy's like, "Yeah, now I want to retire." Well, hey, look, now you need to have that honest conversation with your monitor and let him know, "Hey, look, sorry, dude, but I told you one thing, but at the end of the day, I had a conversation with my family, and my family comes first before the monitor does. So that's what it is. You don't want to burn bridges, but you have to be real with yourself and then your actual situation. Yeah, it's okay. So branch managers. There you go. So yeah, just make sure you have communication all around, man. Let people know your intent, and so there's no surprises on you potentially dropping papers. Um, and the deployment thing is really up to you, man. Just again, have a talk with your branch manager and let them know. That way, there's no surprises. Well, good stuff, man. Good stuff. I wish you the best with this, man. It is going to be a little bit of a stressful transition. At least it can be. Maybe your transition is going to be super smooth. I don't know, but it is going to be, for me at least. It was a pretty stressful transition. At least trying to figure out where the hell I'm going to live, And this was during the time when all the prices like around the country started skyrocketing, and I'm like, shit, man, where am I going to go? Where am I going to put my family? And lucky enough, we found a place. So I mean, you can rent, but I more so used my VA loan to buy several places. So I wanted to use that VA loan to buy something when I retired as well. So your mileage may vary on that one, brother. Yeah, but definitely reach out, man. I mean, you know where to find me. I'm on the military retirement group on Facebook, man. You know where to find me. Definitely reach out to me and let me know what you got going on. Yeah, I see Josh Cantrell also answered to you on the military retirement group there, Derek. Josh is an awesome dude, man. Really knowledgeable. Or he'd like to answer your question. Yeah, we have him on the show sometimes here. If y'all don't know, I run the military retirement podcast. It's on Sunday mornings. Um, Myself and another retiree uh, run the show. We've been doing it for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And uh, we came up, we do it on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. And it had to be at 8 a.m. because my co-host lives in Italy. I live in San Diego. So it's like we had to work out these time frames, man. Um, yeah, absolutely, Derek. Derek, man, great to have you, man. Join in anytime, dude. Feel free. Turn on those notifications, smash that like button, do all those good things, and you'll get word on when we do the live streams next. Good stuff, man. Good having you, buddy. Um, Question from Caden. Oh, Caden, man, there you go. The Air Force guy, right? From Facebook. Yeah. Caden, there you go. So, question, your question. Hey, what helped you push through the tough years when you thought about getting out? How were you able to communicate with your family and make the decision to stay in? That's a great question, man. So, there are many times where I was on the fence of whether or not I wanted to get out. Namely, like I mentioned in my message to you, after 4 years or around my 4 year mark. Um, and mind you, I had a very young family at the time. And what pushed me through was my desire to want to achieve different milestones. So I had a plan after I reenlisted the first time. I had a plan for myself. Like, I will not leave the Marine Corps if I don't have at least one college degree, right? So I achieved that. I started off with the associates. Then I'm like, okay, well, I'm already halfway there to my bachelor's. So that was my next milestone. I wanted to go to. I was exploring the officer route. I wanted to do like staff academy stuff like that. Like, there's different little milestones. I wanted to go and they offered me to go get stationed in Japan. I was like, man, that is awesome. I've never been out there. Let me see what that's like. So I got stationed out in Japan. Um, all these different little milestones, things that I wanted to achieve while I was in, and that and a lot of honest conversations with my wife. A lot of honest conversations. Thankfully, she's very, easy to talk to, very receptive. She was former Air Force as well, right? So, um, and really, it was like, what would set us up for success in the future? And I have a family member who is retired from the Army. Talked to him a little bit, and I'm like, hey, man, what is your life like after military retirement? He's like, dude, it's great. Like, I can do whatever I want. He bought a couple houses. He moved to Florida. He travels around, and he's a retired Army first sergeant. So, um, I was like, man, that sounds pretty damn good. And around that time, that's when I submitted for the warrant officer program. Now, I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. If I didn't make it, I was like, well, I was probably about 10 years in at that point, 9 or 10 years in. And I was a staff sergeant. And I'm like, well, if not, then I'll just continue on, right? I'll be a gunny in E7 next, and whatever. I'll take it all the way to 20 because I was already at that middle part, that on the fence, right? You got to make that decision once you're at 10 years. Am I going to continue going, or were the last 10 years a bust? You got to kind of make that decision. Um, so then I got selected for warrant officer, and I'm like, oh shit, I can take this all the way. And I did all the way to 20. And it was a great ride because now all these knuckleheads, all my questionable leaders from back in the day were not calling me sir. So that was part of the fun. Oh man. So yeah, tough years, man. It's a lot about communication. You got to have an open conversation with your wife. I don't know how old your kids are. I assume that they're pretty young, but if your kids are older, have an honest conversation with your kids. Um, just sitting down, maybe over dinner, and I had a lot of nightly conversations with my wife about it. Like, where do you see yourself? What do you want to do? Like, a lot of it was where, what does she want to do after I get out? And she's educated, she's smarter than I am. So I'm like, all right, well, she can get a job anywhere. Um, but yeah, it was open communications about where she sees herself, what the potential future looks like. Should I take it to 20 years, or if I got out at 4 years or 8 years or whatever the case may be? Like, where would you move? What does the employment situation look like? Um, where would the kids go to school? If you move to these places, are you able to afford something in a little bit better of a school district? Things like that. So a lot of these conversations need to be had, man. A lot of them, and of course the financial conversation too. If you are in mountains of debt, I don't know your situation, Caden, and I don't want to speculate, but I just putting the for reference out there, the scenario. I mean, if you have a lot of debt, you may want to look at potentially staying in a little bit where you have job security and pay off a lot of this debt, all before you get out. I think the worst thing you can do, or anybody can do, is leave the service and owe money on cars, on whatever. It's okay to owe money in the house because the house, that's a big expense. But like on cars and like other things, student loans or whatever you might have, you might want to pay all that stuff off. Hopefully that helps out, man. If you have any more specific questions, dude, I'm here. Let me know. Question from, oh, hold on a second. Sergeant Stacking, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Good to see you as well. Good to see you as well. Always a good time getting the crew together and talk a little bit about veteran and military stuff, man. So I'll put this out for anybody out there who wants to jump in on the conversation on the live stream. Actually, here, jump on the live stream. This is always fun, and I already had 2 cups of coffee today, so I'm not drinking anymore, or else I get the freaking jitters. I've weaned myself off from going from like 4 cups of coffee a day to just 2 and potentially 1 here. So here you go. Jump on the live stream. If anybody has any questions, wants to jump on the live stream, have an honest conversation about what's going on, definitely jump on here. Richie W9H80. When did I get out? I retired from the Marine Corps in December of 2023. 1 December 2023 was my EAS. So it was a great ride, fun ride. And again, you may have some leaders, that maybe are not the best, and you have to form your own type of leadership. Good question, man. It's a great question. Will I obey an illegal order? That's a great question. Would I? Well, I'll put it like this. I come from a military justice background. You are told that you do not have to obey that stuff. You are told that, like, through boot camp, right? And it's hard to say because in the UCMJ, there is nothing that specifies what an illegal order is. There's Article 92 that specifies disobeying a lawful or general order, and there's elements to that. So, oh, excuse me, let me see. Did I disconnect that? No. There's elements to that. Now, this is the job for staff judge advocates, the military attorneys out there. or connected to different units. They should be the ones going out to educate the commands on what that looks like. So it's kind of a gray area. So the idea with this is if you were to obey an illegal order, like you mentioned on here, Richie, you could find yourself at a court martial. If you decided to disobey an illegal order and it turned out to be a legal order, uh, or what you construed as an illegal order, you could find yourself at a court martial. So it's a very fine line and a very messy situation. The UCMJ does not specifically define what an illegal order is. It's a matter of using your best judgment. Now, if somebody told me, hey, take this bat and go smash that guy's head in for no reason at all, if I got an order from, I don't know, some colonel or something like that, um, and we were on base, it was peacetime, I'm probably not going to do that thing. For one, yeah, I'm going to cause some serious damage here to somebody's livelihood, and for two, there's no backing of that being a legal order. So, and if in that scenario, I would probably say respectfully, sir, I'm not going to do that, and whether or not I get in trouble, hey, well, let's take this to court martial. Then I'll fight this. So it's a very fine line. It's a very fine line. So it's a little hard. And um, when all that stuff came out about obeying a legal order, illegal order, things like that, that is if you're a young service member, PFC, E3, E4, E5, even, you're not going to know exactly what the UCMJ says. You're not going to know everything about it, or the Mark Corset man, Milpers man, whatever it is. So that is up to the base judge advocates, the staff judge advocates, to educate their commands on what that means. So I'll leave it at that. Homebody Miss Katie, welcome to the Green Logbook. I accepted your thing on the military retirement group. Thanks for joining up on there. Hopefully you get something out of that. So thank you for joining. Yeah. So today is a lot of it is about what life is really like after the military. Now, I have an issue with getting out of the military and getting right back into debt. So I know a lot of folks who leave the military and go out and buy a truck, brand new truck or a boat or whatever. Hey, if you can do that, you can do that. If your financial situation allows you to do that, I would say don't be so quick to jump back into debt, though. This is Vic's philosophy. Don't be so quick to jump back into debt. Enjoy your debt-free time and enjoy the second chapter of your life a little bit. Enjoy it with your family. Go travel. Go do something. Use Space A. It's such a good perk. I mean, you may not be like category 1 or 2 anymore. You might be category 5 or 6, but it's such a good perk, especially if you have time on your hands now after you leave the service. JD 3TF had to subscribe and give you a like. Good to see you, big brother. Hey, right on, man. I truly appreciate you, and I love that Forrest Gump. Is that Forrest Gump I see on there? Oh man, that's good. Yeah, thank you for joining, man. Thank you for subbing. But yeah, it's not a bad life. It's not a bad life after you leave the military. It really isn't. A lot of folks have a lot of hangups about going the long haul, doing the whole 20 years. And I told you, when I was at my military and my retirement ceremony, I had a bunch of friends who flew in from around the country. A lot of them got out after 4 years, after 8 years, and a few of them came up to me like, man, I could be in your shoes right now if I would have just stayed in. And I mean, a lot of these folks went on to do great things. Some of them are attorneys, some of them are like superintendents and stuff. Some of them are still in the service. So the ones who got out early were kind of kicking themselves in behind, like, man, I wish I would have stayed in a little bit longer, and I would have been in these shoes, potentially getting a retirement check for the rest of my life, for the rest of their lives. And that's one of the perks, right? Anybody can go into a recruiting office. Not everybody can join. You may have something going on, but if you can, why not? Why not? It's to the point where do you still only when I'm with my family. Yeah. Do you love your life a quarter mile at a time? Do I still love my life or still live my life? I still live it. I live my life, nah, probably one PFT at a time. No, no, I don't. I don't. Not anymore. Fast and Furious. Yeah, I stopped doing those PFTs. I told myself that I would like after I retirement, I would still keep up with the PFTs. And for the most part, I mean, I still work out and stuff like that, getting past like an injury to my shoulder now, but uh it's hard to keep up sometimes if you don't have that self motivation to do it, because you don't have somebody dangling that UCMJ over your head, like, hey, if you don't make the weight, if you don't do the make the weigh in, you ain't gonna be able to stay in. We're gonna put you on body fat composition, or we're gonna kick you out, or we're gonna add and sep you, or whatever. That stuff ain't dangling over your head anymore. So it's a little tough now because you have to have that self motivation. Not everything is not done for you anymore. You don't have orders on where you're going to go next. You don't have, the military is, I've described it many times, this cush little bubble where everything's done for you for the most part. Like you have um, medical, you got dental. If you don't get them done on time, you're on somebody's hit list from whatever the S3 or the S1, and then they'll submit that to your unit, and then you get told, hey, you got to go, you're a class 4 dental, you got to go to get your dental stuff done. Like they take care of you because it's on like the CEOs ultimately if you don't get this stuff done. When you get out, you're on your own program, OFP. So own freaking program, and you got to be self-motivated and keep track of your own stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Home body. Stretches, push-ups, sit-ups in the AM. Yeah, absolutely. I do my stretches all the time. All the time. Push-ups too. I got a pull-up bar right there, right in my garage. As soon as I walk out to the garage, anytime I go out there, knock out freaking my 20 pull-ups, I'm good to go. Um, Working out is something I need to do more. Again, even a basic workout. The motivation definitely is a skill I've lost. So I'll tell you what, when it comes to that, the simpler the better. I find the simpler the better. So I have a membership to the gym. I go to the gym every so often, but if you can make it even simpler, like maybe you don't want to go to the gym, but you still want to get a workout, grab yourself a few kettlebells and just do something in the garage or in your room, something quick, something simple, or one of those bands or something, band workouts. I find that when I feel lazy and I don't want to go get in my car and go to the gym in the morning or in the afternoon, I will walk into my garage because I'm in there anyway, and I'll knock out like a kettlebell workout or some pull-ups, and then get a little sweat in, and then that's good. Get some motion going. First step is the hardest, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Envoy. First step is the hardest. That's deciding that you're going to actually do something. But the idea here is to live as long as possible and keep your health going for as long as possible. Um, do I like working out? Not really. Not really. I feel like I don't have that same feeling like Arnold has when he's working out. You know what I'm talking about if you watch that show, Pumping Iron, that movie. I don't. I used to back in the day, but now it's kind of like a hassle. But now I have it in my head, like if I want to live as long as possible and reap the rewards and the benefits of this military retirement and whatever I'm receiving for VA disability, I need to make sure that I'm somewhat healthy enough to remain here, like waking up in the morning, and living life. So, see, I'm getting some texts here. What is this? Oh, I'm getting text from a buddy of mine here. What do you say? Another VA F up in the making. What is this? VA invented new reasons to deny GI Bill benefits, lawsuit claims. Wow, this is new. This just came out. Okay, well, yesterday, but the lawsuit argues that the VA is using a new overly restrictive rule that requires veterans to have had a break in service to access education benefits from two main GI Bills. Hmm. They're probably talking about the Rudisill Act. Okay, well, we'll talk about that in a second. Navy Cop says, I'm a bit of a football bat physically these days, but need to fix it. Got a grandbaby on the way in a few months. Yeah, yeah. So I, I would say, what are you doing to fix that? What are you doing to take that first step? Just like Mr. Envoy mentioned, the first step is the hardest, in his opinion, and that's true. What are you going to do? And all it takes is getting up and walking. I find that walking really alleviates a lot of stuff. It really it it keeps you healthy. If you look at it's called there's these areas around the world called blue zones. Blue zones meaning areas where they had the highest concentration of centenarians, people who are 100 years old plus. One's in, I believe, in Okinawa. There's another one in Costa Rica, and in Italy, different parts of the world, right? And if you look at them and why they are so physically fit for the most part, I'm not talking about like six pack abs and like muscles. They live long, right? They're fit. They eat well. They meaning like they eat more whole type foods, right? Not a lot of processed stuff. If it comes in a box, you probably don't want to have that as part of your diet. And again, I'm no dietitian, but this is just me, right? And what I've read and researched. They walk a lot as well. They walk a lot. They surround themselves with laughter and friends, and that really feels good for the soul. So definitely check it out. It's called Blue Zones. There's a documentary on Netflix. But first step is to get out and start walking, man. That's what I would do. Shit, that's what I do. I go out after dinner and I walk. Probably walk a mile. I live near a park and stuff, so I just kind of walk around there. So just got to make it a routine, man. That's it. But I'm there with you, dude. Sometimes I don't want to do anything. Sometimes I'm content with sitting here at my computer, just freaking hanging out. And then I get to thinking to myself, do I want to wake up tomorrow? Like, how do I want to feel when I wake up tomorrow? Do I want things to hurt, or do I want to feel a little bit better about myself? So, yeah, military retirement is kind of a tricky thing, and the word retirement is a tricky thing as well. Here, let me share this on here, and I'll explain why. I'm putting the invitation out there for anybody who wants to jump on the live stream again. I do this every so often. Some folks will jump on the live stream. We'll have conversations and talks about what they have going on. I'm part of the Veterans and Coffee meetup. But where was I? What was I talking about? Damn it. See, I forgot what the hell, where I was. Somebody remind me. Yeah, the first step is a doozy, man. It is. It's not easy. It really isn't. Retirement is tricky. Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Envoy. Yeah, as you can see, my ADD stuff is activating this morning. Yeah, the word retirement, right? Not retirement in general. The word retirement is a little tricky. I don't like it. I don't, especially like military retirement. Yes, it's there for a reason, but I'm not fond of the word military or the retirement. When I think about retirement, I think about maybe like somebody who's in their 60s or 70s or something, sitting at the beach all day and not doing anything. I still have a lot of life left in me. Um, shit, I'm in my early 40s. Uh, I can still walk, my limbs still work. Just like the word disability. I've talked about this many times on the channel. The word disability is a tricky one as well. When you think about disability, you immediately think about, well, I immediately think about that little blue thing on the parking spaces, that little blue guy or person in the wheelchair. Like, I'm not in a wheelchair. I can still walk. My limbs still work for the most part. I got shoulder injuries, but still work. Back hurts, but still works. Um, but if I think to myself that I am, oh, retired. Oh, the word military retirement, I'm retired, then I will refrain from doing things because I will get it in my head that I am retired, that I don't have to do that. Oh, I don't have to go out for, a workout because I'm retired. I get to enjoy life now. Well, I'm military retired, not retired, right? At like 60, I think it's nearing 70 now is what they're trying to change it to. So it's a tricky word. It's the same thing as disability. Sometimes when I'm like, oh, I should probably go get a workout in, but then I'm like, like my back hurts, and then I'll start thinking about, oh, technically I have a disability, a military disability, so I shouldn't. I don't really have to, and it kind of gets in your head a little bit. So um, I don't like the word disability. Service connected something, compensation maybe. Um, Military retirement is fine. I just don't. It is what it is. That's what it's called, military retirement. Um, you just can't let it get in your head. It's a mental thing. See what else. I'm looking at some more comments on here on the Facebook group. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, definitely check it out. It's called the Military Retirement Group. I'm the admin on there. It's about 3,000 folks on there, veterans, retirees, things like things like that, who have questions about life after the military, what to do, best practices, etc. And it's just fun to engage with fellow and like-minded folks. We just had Derek on there. Derek was asking some questions on here. Um, there's people that have questions on taxes. There's people that have questions. There was something that was brought up on LinkedIn a while back. I shared this on there. It was, would you trade part of your lifetime pension for a six-figure check today? Man, actually, I'll pose that question to you all in the chat here. Would you trade part of your lifetime pension for a six-figure check today? It's an interesting article. I'll share it here in the chat. Let's see here. Specifically, it's from USAA. It says, for the first time in military retirement history, a generation of service members are being asked to answer this financial decision when they retire. Do you take full monthly retirement pay for life or accept reduced pension in exchange for a lump sum today? And they're talking about the BRS. Under BRS, eligible retirees with at least 20 qualifying years of service may elect a one-time lump sum payment equal to a discounted portion of the present value of their future retired pay. It's a mouthful, but it really means a lot. But here's what it really means. You can choose to receive some of your retirement payment early as a lump sum today. In exchange, your monthly retired pay is temporarily reduced until you reach age 67, when it returns to your full unreduced monthly pension amount. The options include no lump sum, full monthly retired pay for life, 25% lump sum plus, it's a lump sum plus 25% reduced monthly retired pay until 67, or 50% lump sum, larger lump sum plus 50% reduced monthly retired pay until 67. That's freaking confusing, man. Like, there's a lot of percentages on there. I'm just glad I went with the freaking high 3, man, because the way they're doing this BRS stuff is the only upside to it is the matching on the TSP, I think. Everything else kind of sucks. I'm glad I did the high 3. I'm glad I was eligible for that. So here is the link to that. If you all want to read it. Hi, Charlton Zimmerman, welcome. Can a veteran on pension be recalled to active duty in a draft? Good question. I without doing the full research, I would say yes, but there has to be certain stipulations to it. 10 U.S. Code subsection 688 talks about it. Let me see here. 10. Six, eight, eight. Oh, there you go. Yep. 10 U.S. Code, subsection 688. Authorizes Secretary of Defense or War, however you see it, or military department secretaries to involuntarily recall retired members of the regular Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Space Force, and specific retired reserve members to active duty to meet national defense requirements. This authority applies during both peacetime and wartime, though restrictions on numbers and durations are waived during declared national emergencies. So, let's see. There are some limitations. Retirees cannot be forced to serve more than 12 months within a 24-month period. During peacetime, there are limits on the number of retired general and flag officers who can be on active duty. I don't know how they deal with the pensions. I don't know how that works. Recalled retirees receive active duty pay and allowances, usually resulting in a recalculation of their retired pay upon release. So, holy crap, they to answer your question, they recalculate your retirement pay, I suppose. Yeah, so Charlton Zimmerman, if you have more questions about that, it is 10. USC subsection 688. I can't do the little subsection thing, but that will answer your questions right there, or at least go more in depth on them. Yeah, it is a little tricky. It is a little tricky. Do I foresee that happening? I don't. I don't. I mean, especially with folks who have major disabilities and stuff like that after the service. So unless you're like highly specialized in something, unless you're like Commando, you know, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, where the colonel flies in on his property while he's having ice cream with his daughter. He's like, you're the only one that can do the job, Charlton Zimmerman. We need you. Or unless you're like Rambo, like there's only one guy for the job. His name is John Charlton Zimmerman Rambo, and I need him. And the colonel's going to come find you. So yeah, good answer. 660 love. Not in this economy. Yeah, it's a little rough to accept that lump sum on that BRS. So glad I did the high 3 because they gave me the option for it. I'm good. I read through it. I'm like, look, this freaking high 3 is not looking, or this high 3 is looking a lot better to me. Because I didn't have enough time to contribute to the matching for the TSP. I was just kind of maxing out my TSP. I didn't have enough time to contribute to it. So when I was presented with it, and it was like probably at my 18-year mark, and when they're like, hey, do you want to switch over to BRS? I'm like, nah, hell no. I'm good to go. I'm good to go. Golf Tango Golf, man. Does anybody else get messages on LinkedIn all the freaking time about people asking if they want to come on and be a financial advisor with their firm? I get these all the time. People are like, "Hey, look, no experience needed. We think that you can be a great financial advisor." I'm like, "I'm not even in the financial advising space. Like none of my profile says anything about financial advising. Like how? How do you think I'm great for it? Like I suck at math. Like I'm no, no bueno, man." Yeah. So Navy Cop says I'd go for either of the lump sum options. Still waiting to start my retirement, but the lump sum would help in my situation. Yeah, yeah. I can see that happening. You know, if you need the lump sum up front, then I can see that you're just gonna have to delay the rest of the retirement later on. Yeah, I can see that. My cousin can't leave it alone. He was a SEAL and now a civilian contractor in Virginia. What can't he leave alone? I'm curious. Somebody had mentioned on the retirement military retirement group, um, why should I give a crap about my awards being correct on my DD 214? I mean, a legit question, right? Like when you're leaving the service, what do you care about what's on your DD 214? So a lot of good. It's got 27 comments on here from different folks. A lot of it has to do with whatever you might rate. You know, for example, if you plan to go on the federal side, it says your campaign medals may qualify you for additional leave accrual. Plus, it's an official military record. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I reviewed mine when I got out. All my stuff was correct. They usually don't put all your service schools on there, so whatever can fit. Some people are like, I didn't care about my about awards on my DD 214. Didn't affect my life. I know what I did. Don't care who who else knows. A lot of it is preference, right? Oh yeah, yeah. Being involved in the service. Yeah, so it's a fine line too because it's hard to separate. You know, when you do it for so long, for several decades, it's hard to. It's really it becomes what you know, and it's hard to get out of that, especially if that's the base of your network. It's military or federal civilian folks. It's what you know. It's I mean, and it doesn't necessarily pay bad at all if you're a civilian contractor. Um, I mean, I share the story all the time. The first position that when I left the service, um, they offered me twice what I was making as a chief warrant officer three, and I'm like, yeah, this sounds good. That's that big reason why I went into that position. If they didn't, then I probably wouldn't have. But yeah, it's hard to get away from that. But I mean, contracting is a pretty good gig when you get out. It is. I mean, there's big organizations, big companies like Booz Allen and Lockheed, smaller ones too, but they usually pay pretty well for your expertise. But there's also a lot of competition with a lot of these positions. So it is who you know. Yeah. So Navy cop, you know exactly what I'm talking about, man. You see a lot of these things, these folks that reach out. Hey, we want you as part of our team. We think you'd be a good fit for this financial job that we have. It's like, how do you know? Like, nothing on my profile says finance. I got you, man. I'm reading some of your comments here. You see, I'm one of those that likes the fruit salad awards, if nothing more than something to reflect my service and things that are linked to. Yeah, yeah, I get you, man. I get you. Like all my awards, like I don't even keep them around. I was given like a this little going away award, retirement thing. I don't even know where it is, dude. To be honest, I mean, it's somewhere in my garage. Um, you know, I keep a few things up, but what I'm trying to do is embrace the second chapter of my life. And I feel like if I have too much Marine Corps stuff up, it's going to like kind of hinder my growth in the next chapter of my life. So I have a few things up. I'm proud of my service, happy for what I did. It's not the peak of my life. It's not where I peaked. Some folks peak in high school, like they say, like the Al Bundy. Somebody mentioned the Al Bundy theory, where he peaked in high school, poke high, 4 touchdowns in a single game, and now he's a shoe salesman, and that was the pinnacle of his life. That doesn't have to be the pinnacle of your life or my life. Military service. We can keep going. We can keep achieving things. So it was a good time. It wasn't the only time. So I do enjoy my awards. They're somewhere. My uniform is vacuum sealed and in a box, so that way, like, it doesn't start withering away. Both my alphas and my dress blues. I have my sword back there in the corner, my officer's sword, my NCO sword broke a while back. It's somewhere in the garage. Happy for what I did, and you should be happy for what you did in service, but that does not make you as a person. And I this comes from, I recently spoke to a psychologist about this, where this person asked me, what do I think? What do I think about people who wear like the Vietnam veteran hats, and now, like, I'm starting to see OIF hats. I saw somebody at Costco with it the other day, like OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and I'm an OIF vet. I went and I have my little Operation Iraqi Freedom, ribbon, with a star and all that. So, and what do I think about it? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I think they're proud of their careers, and this person posed another viewpoint on it. Like, do you think that was the pinnacle of what they achieved? I'm like, potentially. I mean, that was their first love, I assume, their first chapter. After that, I don't know what they did. So don't let that be your only thing. Yeah, yeah, I can see that, Navy cop. Yeah, it's a family thing, right? Family history. So, and I have mine stored away too. All my stuff, like in boxes and things like that, in hopes that one day my kids will want to look through it and see it, right? So that's awesome. I'm on board with that. But yeah, so yeah, to answer the questions on both the Facebook and then here in the chat, um, military retirement, going from military to civilian, even if you didn't retire, the whole process is stressful. There's certain things that you want to hit on before you get out. Certain things you want to check in the box. Uh, Me personally, with debt, it was completing the BDD, benefits delivery and discharge, making sure I knew where I was going to live, and potentially, if your plan is to go and get employment, start tailoring that resume for employment after you leave the service. Some folks take off for a whole year. Some folks take off for a few months, week. or some folks just go straight into a job. I went straight into a job from terminal leave. Like I took like a month and a half off, and then the following month and a half that I had on terminal leave went straight into a job. So some folks can do that. Some folks want to do that. And I think it's that mindset of the battle rhythm, right? You're going to want to, you don't like a lapse in time. You want to keep going. You want to have a new, that mission continue the next day. So it's a little tricky thing to get over, but I lived and I learned. In hopes that one day I can fit in my dress blues again. Dude, you and me both, man. My dress blues are tight, but then again, I'm not going through height and weight standards or anything like that, right? I got a little bit wider, and that's fine. That's fine. When the time comes and I maybe want to fit into them again, I'll work on that. One day, Navy cop, you will fit into your dress blues again. I just got to take mine to the tailor. That's it. So here, I'll share this one more time here. Um, Anybody has any good stories about your military civilian retirement or uh, veteran journey, let me know. I love talking about this stuff. And this conversation, this live stream stemmed from a bunch of messages and comments that I received on Facebook, on the military retirement group, and on in the messenger, asking about military retirement. People are asking about prime or select. Question is, my husband and I will get care mainly from the VA, but we have 4 kids, and I like the idea of select, but not the deductible part, as we are used to not having a deductible. We've been used to prime remote, so I think it would just continue being that way, obtaining referrals and maintaining low cost. It really depends on where you live. I think your area, your choices. Um, Me personally, I elected for regular prime. It's low cost. It's like what for a family? It's like $67 a month compared to um, civilian insurances, which can range in like the thousands, hundreds or 1,000. So thankful that I have the prime, TRICARE Prime. And yeah, and you can use VA too. So you don't necessarily have to have insurance if it's just you. But if you have a family, the VA is not going to cover your family unless you're eligible for like Champ VA, but retirees are not eligible for Champ VA. So you cannot be eligible for TRICARE and Champ and have Champ VA at the same time. Just FYI. There's some very interesting. This is the first I'm reading this one. Very interesting comments on the military retirement group. Somebody is having trouble regarding their husband being fully transparent about finances. That's a big communication thing, man. I'm just reading this. If you're interested if you're interested in stuff like this, join the military retirement group on Facebook. I'm telling you, it's a good piece of gear. It's good, something good to have. A lot of folks retiring in 2026. I put it on here. Yeah, yeah. So you get the free medical care through the VA, anyways, right? Thank you for posting that, Jason Miyamoto. The idea here is, what about the family? What about the family? Now, for instance, like the VA or TRICARE does not cover dental, right? So, lucky enough, my wife's job offers dental, right? She declined the other insurance because we have TRICARE Prime, but we have dental through her stuff. So We can use all the kids can use dental. I can use it, if I want to. So that's there for us. So you really need to look at the options here. Bay to VA. Like, is that San Francisco Bay to Virginia? It's a hell of a journey, man. Just found your channel and it is helpful. I had a hard time getting used to civilian life. I did over 20 years in the submarine Navy. Ooh, I can't imagine that, man. And TAPS was not helpful for civilian life. Do you agree? Yes, yes, I agree. Thank you. First off, thank you for coming on and sharing a little bit about yourself. Bay to VA 922. Um, and next thing, submarine Navy, man. That's I've taken a tour of a submarine, inside a submarine. That's some tight quarters, man. Um, big ups to you for living that life. But I will agree that TAPS could be done a little bit better. I tried to get my foot in there to help out a little bit, but they wouldn't let me because I wasn't contracted with whoever they contract through. Um, question for you, to VA, Bay to VA. How would you make TAPS a little bit better? What would you do to, what would you implement in it to make it a little bit more uh, forward thinking or allow somebody to prepare a little bit better when it comes to military civilian transition or retirement? What would you do if you were the TAPS coordinator? Jason Miyamoto, I fully agree with this, man. This is an excellent comment. I am so blessed to have TRICARE, and I had many nights and days that I wanted to get out, and if nothing, TRICARE was worth it. Yes, it is. And I will always share this one story with anybody who says anything about TRICARE, man. Um, my daughter had to be in the hospital when I was a young Marine in my early 20s. She had to be in the hospital for like 3 or 4 days. And it was specifically a children's hospital that we took her to. And after that week or however long she was in there, I received a bill for about $28,000. And I wasn't exactly sure because I'd never really used TRICARE for something that large when I was in my younger years. And my heart freaking sank. I was like, oh my God, like we're gonna be in so much debt now and crazy. I brought it up to my leadership and they're like, dude, submit it to TRICARE and they'll take care of it and whatever. Because we had to do the ambulance thing and it was just a lot. They took care of it all. They took care of it all. And I was like, wow. Like from then on, TRICARE is my jam, dude. TRICARE is my jam. Went from $28,000 as a freaking E4 to nothing owed. TRICARE took care of it all. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They do pay a lot, man. And it's just getting more expensive. You know, the the US would have a very hard time transitioning over to like the universal health care that some countries have. It's not the way it works. It would be a huge undertaking to do that. Would it be nice? Hell yeah, it would. It would probably mean a little bit more in taxes, but if it meant getting all your ailments, taken care of, would you be willing to pay a little bit more taxes for that, for some universal health care? Not you specifically, just putting a question out there for anybody. Yeah, the bubble heads. Yeah, isn't that incredible? Ex-wife had shoulder surgery and only had to pay $134 out of 57,000. This is this is after, right? This is after you left the service with TRICARE, I assume. because I know there's that bit you pay, the charge you pay. Yeah, and community care is great too. Community care is awesome. So just recently, when I was not feeling well, and it took them a while through my, the VA app is awesome now. The way they updated it, um, you can message your people, your docs directly, um, and when I couldn't get in with my doctor, they're like, "Hey, come into." I don't know if it's called community care or it's whatever their version of urgent care is. Pretty amazing. They saw me like that day or the next day, and I mentioned, "Hey, like I'm not feeling well. This is going on," and it was pretty quick. They renewed all my meds at that point in time. It was awesome. So yeah, big ups to the VA for that. Big ups to TRICARE after you leave the service as well. Not only do they take care of you while you're in service, but Jason Miyamoto is a testament to this. Ex-wife's shoulder surgery, only had to pay $134 out of 57 grand. That's freaking wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Let me see here. What's another perk of being retired? Man, aside from time freedom, right? You can do whatever the hell you want. If you don't live in a very high cost area, you potentially don't have to work again unless it's for yourself, right? You can expand on that side hustle that you've always wanted to expand on. So, yeah, a lot of good perks to being military retired. Just reading some of these comments on here from the military retirement group. Oh man, chapter no, online commissary no. What files do you need or recommend that you have before leaving the military? Okay, that's a good question. This one was posed by someone on the military retirement group. What files do you need or recommend that you have before leaving the military? Um, Request your official medical records at least 1 year prior to the date of separation. Go line by line for all diagnosed conditions and ensure the records are blatantly obvious. You were seen on this day, prescribed this medication, and diagnosed with so and so condition. Somebody else mentioned have at least 2 copies of all medical records. Review them to make sure nothing is missing. Get them digitally if possible. Medicals, awards, education, decorations, all that stuff. Immunization records for the family. I would also venture to say not only from like the base health clinics or the base hospitals. If you saw a civilian doctor, you may want to get those records from that civilian doctor. A lot of them, from my experience, don't talk or don't transfer those medical files over to your base where your primary doctor is. So you may have to think ahead and get a hold of the civilian docs, chiropractors, whatever it is, to get a hold of these documents. So that way you have a complete medical record to submit for your VA disability claim. Yeah. That's excellent, man. Jason Miyamoto, my best friend, wanted to get out at 17 years. He was a chief. Why would he want to get out at 17 years? Like, what? I'm glad you talked him into that because that would have been the worst mistake, I think, to be so close to retirement. And that makes the back of my knees itch, man. Just thinking about it. Okay, we're talking about. I was reading your comment, trying to figure out where this is going. Okay, so you're talking about TAPS, TRS, Transition Readiness Seminar. How we would make it different. I would inform the service member more on the civilian life livestream.com/work to get the service member more info on civilian life instead of how to dress for an interview for a job. Yeah, from Oakland. Okay. Hold on a second. What is this? Okay. Yeah, I concur, man. I concur. There was a lot of the resume stuff. There was a lot about and TAPS specifically, a lot about the resume stuff, a lot about how you dress for success, etc. Um, I would inform the service member more on civilian life and work. Yeah. So, BA to VA, man. The idea I had that I wanted to present the my TAPS coordinators with. I went to three different TAPs to present this idea, and all of them kind of shut it down, saying that they didn't want me in front of their audience because I didn't work for the contractor. The idea here that I had was get a group of veterans. It could be veterans, retirees, whatever. 4 or 5 people set them up in the front of the TAPS classroom, and just a question and answer period, right? Like from the front line, essentially, right? Per se, they've gone through it. They're probably a year in. Different ranks, different time frames. Somebody might have retired several months ago. Somebody might have retired 5 years ago. Hey, here's what like lessons learned. Yeah, you're going to go through a stressful time. You're going to go with through a time where you don't know exactly who you are, how you fit into civilian life, identity loss, and all this stuff. How you talk to your civilian counterparts and jobs, and maintaining that battle rhythm mindset of being self-motivated to do things when you don't have somebody telling you to do things. you know just talking about the psychological aspects, talking about the real life aspects. I'm surprised they didn't want that in front of the classroom. um, just 4 or 5 people talking about the real mental hit that people take when they leave the service. You know, a 1 week class, a 3 week class, does not cut it, man. Does not cut it, dude. That does not set you up for success. There's so much that they can do better. You know what? I'm going to send a freaking email to Pete Hegseth and tell him, hey, look, I want let me be the freaking TAPS coordinator on this, man. We'll bring freaking BA to VA up in this piece, and we'll make this trash better than what it is, man. We got to set up our folks for success, dude. This now you got me fired up, damn it. All right, let me see what we got here. My bad. I was just responding to some text messages, all day text messages. Um, yeah, hell yeah, I like that, Jason Miyamoto. And order your C file as soon as you can. Yes, I like it. I agree. That's probably because they don't scan it with the care that you actually need, right? A lot of them are like look like crap when they get scanned. I agree. BA to VA, man. Let's do it for the next generation, man. That's part of the reason why I have this channel and the military retirement podcast. When I got a lot of pushback, I'm like, you know what? F that. I'm starting my own trash and giving my own classes and letting folks know the real process of military to civilian transition. Because yeah, we can. I I figured it was kind of silly when we sat there and we're like, hey, let's sit there at this table, during taps, sit there at this table and um, let's talk to each other about interview skills. And I'm sitting there in front of the guy in front of me, and I'm asking him these silly interview skills. And I'm like, this time could have been used a lot better than, just us kind of laughing at the table, like, hey, I'm not an interviewer. I would rather have somebody come in from a company to actually ask me real questions on potentially what they're looking for. Like, hey, if we actually have an opening for this and you actually want to apply for it, let's do an on the spot interview and let's work through it. And then they give me feedback on how it could be better. Seasoned interviewers, not just me sitting down in front of somebody, in front of my classmate, and just laughing it up as we're sitting through this freaking 3-day class. Could be done so much better, man. It could. I'm down to do it if you are, man. I really am. People also mentioned like requesting the service record, OMPF, medical, dental, school and training certificates, um, depending on what you want to do outside the military. A lot of those things you're going to want to request. Damn, I don't know what just happened here. I should just turned off. Let me turn it back on. Give me a second here. All right, back at it. Back at it here. So now all great comments, all great questions. I do appreciate all the stuff that you guys are putting out there. If you haven't already done so, please consider liking and joining the military retirement group on Facebook. Awesome group of veterans and retirees who are looking to get information on life after the military and just sharing good info. There's a lot of good info on there. So definitely check that out. Um, there's comments on like getting hit with a bill for excessive household goods weight after they retired. Somebody had posed that question. Um, People sharing photos of themselves retiring at retirement ceremonies. It's just great to connect with folks like this. So I will leave you with this. What is life like after military retirement? The question that I posed here for this video. Life is good. I almost left the military after 4 years, and I'm so glad I did 20 years and 20 years in a month. If not, I would have been kicking myself in the ass. It gives you so much freedom to do different things, to do what you want with your time, to work for yourself, to be an entrepreneur if you want to pursue something that you haven't been able to do before, because now you have that pension, right? And Same thing with folks who are potentially earning VA disability. Do something with that. Don't just get back into debt. That's my big feeling, and that's what I pass on forward to the next generation of folks who are retiring or who are looking to retire, or who have questions of whether or not they should do it for the long haul. Yes, you guys have BRS now. It's not as lucrative. It's not as good as high three, but look at it this way. As long as you're financially stable, you have no debt. You don't have to take a lump sum. You can get the maximum amount of that BRS. You can use your matching for TSP. Use that. And I forgot what it is. It's like up to 5%. Max out that TSP, man, if you can. If you're dual military, even better. Or if your wife works or your husband works and one of you is in the military, max that stuff out. I'm telling you, it is so worth it. So a lot of good pieces when it comes to military retirement. And I could not be here making these videos and doing what I'm doing here and working from home and being able to pick up my kids from school and dropping them off at school if it wasn't for the fact that I decided to continue and hit milestones to do the 20-year mark. So completely thankful for the benefits that has earned me. And, hopefully you all feel the same, but please, I'm open to whatever comments you have. With that, again, the Military Retirement Group on Facebook. If you haven't already done so, check us out on the Military Retirement Podcast. We do that every Sunday, 8 in the morning Pacific time. I'm in California, so head on it if you want, but it is what it is. I'm in California, so it has to be 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every Sunday. Military Retirement Group. Catch me and my co-host John right here. You can actually watch it from the green logbook here. It's fine. But with that, I'm gonna let you all go. I got a couple things to do, and I'm gonna make some videos here. We do have a membership on the green logbook, so I like to put out some videos to the members first before they get released to the public. So let me work on that a little bit. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm over at thegreenlogbook.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on here, comment below, whatever you want to do. So with that, thank you all for joining me on today's episode of the Green Logbook, From Military to Civilian, What Life is Like After Military Retirement. Out here.